time management can be so overwhelming, but in today's video, I'm going to share all of my tips on how to time block, how to set your schedule for success, how to stay organized, some time management tips that I personally, as a therapist, share with my clients. So by the end of this video, you're going to have actionable steps so that you can feel more in control of your time. Let's dive into it. One of the first things I think you need to keep in mind when you want to manage your time better and often is overlooked. And I like to share this quote that I live by, and that is, you can have everything, but not everything at once. And once you allow yourself to live your life by that quote, you will start noticing that you're able to prioritize things a little bit more efficiently, and knowing that you're not limiting yourself, but you don't have to do everything all at once. I think in this culture of hustle, we want to get things done so quickly that then we burn ourselves out and we're not giving enough effort towards our goals and the things that we prioritize and the things that we value. So the very first step in order for you to manage your time better is to define your priorities. Before you even start time blocking or allocating your time to specific things, it's crucial to define your priorities for this season. And you can look at seasons quarterly. I use the quarters as a way to base my season. Some people, you can use the season like winter, fall, summer as when you're going to prioritize certain things. I think quarterly is really helpful just to know that in the next 3 months, this is what I'm going to prioritize. In the next 3 months, this is how I want my schedule to look like. Not everything can be a priority, and that is okay. What matters most is identifying your non-negotiable. So there are going to be things that we absolutely have to put in our schedules. There is no way that we can't have these in our schedule because it's either our livelihood, it's things that are just like naturally basic needs that we need as a human. So things like your work hours are non-negotiable, right? Your sleep, your fitness, and recognizing what can be flexible. If you are someone who works for themselves, maybe your work hours are a little bit more flexible. If you are someone who has the space to have workouts at a certain time, they don't always have to be so rigid in a specific time slot. That's going to be important. But the very first thing that you need, and I'll give you 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself to start guiding you through this, which is, what are your top 3 priorities this season? So are you focusing on career growth? Are you focusing on family time? Are you focusing on your personal health? Now, ideally, we want to focus on all of these all at once, but that realistically sometimes is not going to work. And when I say this, I'm not saying like completely disregard all these other areas, but no, it just means we're not giving as much effort or as much time into these specific things as we would have liked, knowing that it's a season, knowing that it's not going to stay forever. So ask yourself, what are your focus in this season? So I'll share my current priorities in this season. So my current priorities is health and fitness. I am prioritizing maintaining a caloric deficit. So that is going to take a lot of energy as I'm consuming less calories, and I'm going to have to be more mindful of meals and things like that. Making home improvements. Now, making home improvements can feel overwhelming, so I've decided to do one part of my new house, just one thing that I could focus on, and that is styling a sideboard. So that was my priority. Like, I'm just focusing on that. And then building new routines. So building new routines, making sure I'm having a good morning routine, having a good evening routine. Because I moved, I still haven't really fallen into a rhythm of a routine. Those are my 3 top priorities. And you can even go granular and think about goals for those 3 priorities so that you know what you're doing. The next one is, what commitments must happen no matter what. So there are certain things in your life, like I said, that are gonna have to be in your schedule. So these are examples are like work meetings that can't be changed, or school drop-offs if you have kids, or fitness classes that are a certain time and you can only take that one class, especially if that's the class that motivates you to go to work out. Or commitments like church, or things that are important to you, but there are commitments, and like I said, are set in a very strict schedule. You have to write these down. Once you write down what your top 3 priorities, then you write down your commitments. It's going to be helpful. And then once you have your commitments, so for me, it's my work hours. Those are things that just can't be changed. I see clients and I have to commit to a time to see them, right? Cooking, and cooking is going to help me prioritize with my caloric deficit. That's a commitment that I have to do, because if I don't commit to it, then I'm not going to really prioritize my health. Date nights, that is something that is really important to me. Like, again, just because I have 3 priorities doesn't mean that I'm not gonna put time and effort in my relationships, but date nights are non-negotiable. They're gonna stay there, a commitment that I made to my partner. And then workouts are a commitment for me that are important. Now, doesn't mean commitments can't be flexible, because workouts for me are flexible, so just keep that in mind. You could even write down next to your commitment if it's flexible or not. Like, even like if we go to church, if church is also available on Wednesdays plus on Sundays, like that doesn't mean we can't go. It just means that we have the flexibility, and it's a commitment. So we do commit to go that week. Let's just say work meetings, again, it's a commitment to show up to have a team meeting, but that doesn't mean that it has to be the same day of every week. Write down whether it's flexible or if it's rigid and just like needs to be stuck to a schedule. Then once you think about those things, what tasks or activities can be adjusted, delegated, or removed? So is attending every social event necessary? Could meal prepping be simplified or shared with a partner? So for me, like, I know that I do commit time for friends, but in this season, I know that I'm not going to be able to see my friends as much as I would like, as I'm trying to prioritize routine, trying to get the house together and things like that. So I committed to myself to seeing friends, one to 2 friends, no more than that this month, and combine it with also something that is relevant to my priorities. So inviting a friend to a workout, or even inviting a friend also to meal prep can also be something that you could do. I haven't done that, but that sounds like a good idea. Making meals can be assigned to some days to my partner. Like, we rotate. There are some days, because I have a more flexible schedule, I work for myself, there are some days where I cook more than him, but there are some days where I have a schedule where I'm seeing clients till 7 p.m. And so on those days, they're in charge of reheating the food, or even just like finishing off the food if we didn't cook the night before. So we kind of catch our slack in that way. Cleaning doesn't have to be too deep cleaned for us. Like, I'm in a stage where, I have pockets of time where I could clean, but I'm not like dedicating like deep clean time. And workouts can be adjusted time-wise. So those are things like personal examples that you can see you can adjust. So ask yourself, what is one thing I need to make time to feel more balanced? I think that's so important as well. But because we're making all of these schedules and trying to manage our time better, that doesn't mean we don't need things. We can't always just be hustling to reach our goals. We have to have things that actually add energy to ourselves. And goals can add energy, but not everything needs to be a goal. Not everything needs to be like so intense. So think about your hobbies, your self-care, or time with your loved ones. Like I mentioned, date nights is something that, if I'm doing this, it makes me feel balanced. It makes me like I'm prioritizing my relationship in a way that feels doable. Throughout the week, we might be prioritizing our goals and things and going through the motions of our work schedule. But in the weekends, we make sure we have those date nights, scheduled and ready for us to, enjoy. So think about things like time away from screen time with your partner, time with friends, at least seeing one friend a month, time not doing anything, no goals, okay? And then last question is, am I overcommitting? If your calendar feels packed, are you saying yes to things that are not even aligned with your current priorities? Once you define what's non-negotiable and what's negotiable, you'll have a better idea of how to build what I call a weekly outline that feels more realistic and aligned with your goals. Now that we've done reflection is so important, so don't skip that first step. But now the second step is, in order to manage our time better, we got to create weekly outlines. The concept of the weekly outlines came from a creator called Jess Massey. She is the creator of the Peacefully Productive Planner, and it's the planner that I currently use. use. And she created this concept of weekly outlines where you basically make an outline based on your priorities, what you want to follow. It's kind of similar to time blocking where you're putting down your negotiables, you're putting down your things that are important to you. And I really like that. So I wanted to share just an example of the weekly outline. So in her planner, she has this. So you have like a blank space of like Monday through Sunday where you can basically start outlining your schedule and blocking those times for those specific things that you're prioritizing. And I will share a link because I believe that you can download this as well. If you don't have the planner, you can still make this weekly outline. And then I'll share probably a Canva template for you as well that you could just use if I can't find the link. But this outline will help you so that if you use Google Calendar, if you use Outlook or anything like that and you want to, block it a little bit better than you can. But basically, you're going to put your non-negotiables like work hours, your sleep, any fixed appointments like I mentioned, and then you fill in your negotiable tasks. So around those blocks like workouts, hobbies, or social activities. And then obviously, I always encourage to leave some open time for flexibility because life happens. Remember that you can also create multiple weekly outlines for different seasons or schedules. Like even then, like if you have kids, like, having weekly outlines for your kids is a really cool way of just making sure you know where they're at and then seeing your schedule. Does it align with your kid's schedule, right? Or with your partner's schedule? Things like that can be super helpful. But you can also make outlines for just busier work weeks. Like if you never have the same kind of work week, like you don't have the same schedule, then it might be good to have just one or two outlines for your ideal weeks and the things that you want to prioritize. So if you're new to time blocking, it's all about assigning specific time slots to your tasks. This means instead of a running to-do list, you know exactly when you're going to work on each item. It's a game changer for productivity and it helps prevent overwhelm. So the key to managing your time also is managing your emotions. When you're not managing your emotions or tasks, the task will not happen and we can easily be overwhelmed by our to-do list if we don't break it down. I sometimes have had clients who are just super overwhelmed and they feel the need for full completion of tasks in order to get relief, but you just need some relief. So instead of focusing on like, okay, I have this huge list, laundry list of to-do list, I'm going to do all of this. Instead, make it an effort to just take an action on that list and even see if you could break those down. There's a tool called Goblin Tools that I personally like and enjoy, and it helps you break down tasks. If you're feeling like, I don't know how to break this task, it just feels so overwhelming, that is a way. You could also use ChatGPT to your advantage and ask how you could break down a task, especially if it's overwhelming you to the point where you're avoiding the task. I think that's so important and that's part of managing your emotions, right? Avoidance is the behavior geared by an emotion, right? So whether that's anxiety, frustration, whether you're like indecisive about something, taking action instead of avoiding is going to be helpful in order to take action. Sometimes that just means just simplifying the task. And I think that's important. Another thing that I like from Jess's planner is that she does what is called a focus 3. So only focusing on 3 things that are most important that need to have done. That doesn't mean there's not other things in your to-do list. It just means that those 3 are the things that you want to prioritize. And again, being very mindful of like, are those 3 things, do they have subtasks that I'm not recognizing? Because a lot of the times we'll put something in our to-do list and it has like 5 things to do in order, like you need to do 5 things in order to complete that one task. And I think that's very important. So like, I'll give an example, like create a website. That just takes so many subtasks before you can create the website, right? Maybe you need to sign up for Squarespace or draft a homepage layout, right? Like you get to decide what a small step is and you'll probably feel a lot better with engaging in that activity. So, or like another example would be like cleaning out your closet. Again, I think of cleaning out my closet and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so overwhelming. But it could just be cleaning out my jeans, right? It could just be trying out my jeans to see which ones fit. Aiming for progress over perfection is so important. So keeping that in mind when you're thinking about your weekly outlines. You want a slot for your tasks that you need to get done for work. You need a slot for things that are like home-based stuff that you need to do that are non-negotiable. And knowing that you have this time slot, it's not necessarily means like I have to do it in this time slot, but it's like my intention is to do it in this time slot and see if it works. And then you can update the weekly outline as it goes. So now that we have our weekly outline, and I will share an example of what mine looks like, we will start setting up Google Calendar for time blocking. So I do have a video where I talk through how to create like different calendars for Google Calendar, how to add a task, all that. So this video is not going to be the video of completely setting up my Google Calendar, but I will show you my setup. That way you have an idea of what that looks like and what that could look like for you. So let's go ahead and let me share my Google Calendar with you, because that's what I use to basically time block. Like, again, I used paper to just draft it out, see what looks right for me, and then I put this on Google Calendar. Okay, so this is my Google Calendar, and not a lot has changed since the last time I did this, so go watch that video. But I basically break down all of my non-negotiables, my negotiables, and everything that I need to do for like all the time like slots that I need in order to make sure I'm flowing with my schedule. So at the top right over here, you will see just I added basically what is a client day, when I'm in the office, when I'm not in the office, when I have my day off. That really helps me just kind of understand what I'm doing, where I'm at. So that's been so helpful. So everything in blue is basically schedules and routines. And if you could see right here, I have all of my calendars selected. So anything in blue, and you could create these calendars by just clicking this plus sign right here and adding a calendar, and you could change the color if you want it more pleasing. I don't like Google Calendar's colors because they're just like so overpowering. This is where I put like schedules and routines. And then my next calendar is client and work blocks. So anything right here that says counseling clients, that's where I'm actually seeing clients during that time. And then anything in pink is like slots where I could do tasks. So I really don't have a lot of slots to do tasks, so I have to be very mindful of getting things done during those tasks. There are some white space in my day, and that's why I just leave for margin. So I don't put every single thing on my Google Calendar. That way it doesn't feel super overwhelming, but I know I put a task slot. So task slots would be things like meetings that are non-counseling client related, recording for YouTube, editing, things like that. And then anything in green are more personal things. So like my cleaning slots, my grocery weekly prep slots, my workout classes, and then same thing with like date night or resets for cleaning. That is where I even put commute time in here, and then when I'm going to sleep. So again, you can create all of these schedules for yourself. Like I do have one for client appointments. So if I click this, you'll be able to see like what client I have for those slots or how many slots have been taken in that block, which is really cool. But because of HIPAA, I'm not going to share that calendar. But yeah, I have all of these things prepared. Like my morning routine, that is where I usually do my workouts, and I'll have things here that I do. Like I'll have like a little note, like workouts, coffee time. This is where I could read, like watch YouTube. I typically try not to have my phone or social media. This is where I take my vitamins and then my breakfast, right? So I have like a 3 hour right there. I like to wake up early so that I know I have 3 hours, because then the rest of the day is like on Mondays, it's working from 9 a.m. all the way to 7 p.m. with maybe just an hour break right here, and then like for lunch, right? So that's a long day for me. Mondays are pretty long for me. And then with Tuesday, I wake up at 5 a.m. so I could do my short version of my morning routine, and then as well as I have my commute time and then my work schedule. Wednesdays are my day off, so they're pretty like there's nothing in there, unless I'm going to meet up with a friend or things like that. I'll add it here, or if I have home tasks that I want to do, I'll add it here. But I don't have a block for home tasks because I kind of just go with the flow in the day, and that is where it's like it's a negotiable. flexible. Like I don't have to do it at a specific time. I do allocate time for cleaning because I know it can feel overwhelming just to do it all on Saturday or all on Friday. So I try to pick something like for an hour that I could do to clean. And then the 13th is the same. I have some time here, which I think I haven't added a time slot. This should be tasks, the task slot. So we're gonna add that. And again, you could actually dictate what calendar you want to put this in. So for now, I'm just putting it here. And then I know that it's a do not disturb. I know this is from 9 to 10. I have a task slot. And so we add it there. So there you go. So that's another task slot that I have. I know I have to update this too. I know I have a counseling client in this one. So see, I'm updating as I go. And we're going to add this to client work. And we know that we have counseling clients. And we know that this is going to be reoccurring. So we're going to put repeats weekly, save, and then now we'll show my actual schedule. So that was an update that I hadn't done. But yes, so this is my schedule as a whole. And I hope this kind of gives you guys an idea of what you can do as far as like, setting up little time slots and everything. But I really think that it's important for us to prioritize our time, make an outline. It's just going to help so much. This outline is literally what I put on my Google Calendar. And it's so helpful to just know when everything is happening and when I intend to do these tasks. Now that you've seen my setup, I wanted to just give some rapid fire tips for just time management in general, especially if you are neurodivergent, maybe you have ADHD, or maybe you're struggling with depression, and it could look very different for people. I don't want to necessarily stereotype people who have ADHD or people who have depression because it's multi-layered. It's going to look and manifest very differently and showcase very differently depending on the person, the circumstance. And so I just want you to take these tips with a grain of salt, so I know that time management can be particularly challenging for individuals who are struggling with mental health issues. So for me, I think the most important is to start small, plan just one day at a time. If a full week feels overwhelming, like I said, making a weekly outline, start with just planning Sunday resets or Mondays. Whatever day you're struggling the most, try to find an outline for that day. Make an outline for that day. I'll go further in a different video how to do a behavioral activation, which is when we're adding things that you enjoy after really tough tasks. And it helps a lot of my clients who are struggling with depression to just have a structure and a schedule that we're working towards, and we adjust it as we see if it's something that's too much, they're not ready for that step, then we make a different schedule for them. But I think just starting small, planning one day if you're struggling with just managing your time better, pick the day that feels like the most struggle and work from there. I think it's super important to use visuals and auditory cues, so try color-coded calendars like Google Calendar or setting alarms to stay on track. I think that could be really helpful for me. That has something that has been helpful, like having an alarm when I know I'm going to have to be somewhere. That allows me to not procrastinate. And even then, something that I've seen with my clients who sometimes struggle with executive functioning, they overestimate the time that they have. So I always say, let's always leave 5 to 10 minutes of buffer, because even if you are early, that's okay. That's okay. We're working towards being someone that's a little bit more on time than just feeling chaotic because, oh my gosh, I lost track of time and now I'm late to my appointment. So we always try to leave 5 to 10 minute time buffers. Even when they put things on their calendar, we'll add the 5-10 minute buffer. We'll say that they have to get there a little bit earlier, and that has been such a helpful tip. Auditory cues are really important for them as well. Visual cues. So if there are things that they need to do, like workouts or something, we add the workout clothes right in front of where they would meet, they would see things, or if they need to eat, we put a prompt, because sometimes when you struggle with neurodivergency, sometimes you forget to eat. And I know that that has been a thing for some of my clients. So we try to kind of give them reminders to eat to fuel themselves, because then they crash in the afternoon. Time block with flexibility, break larger tasks into smaller ones to make them manageable. Like I said, I mentioned Goblin Tools is a really cool tool for you to use. Take breaks, schedule regular breaks to recharge. Super important. Your brain's going to give you mental breaks anyway, so if we just have them scheduled, it's going to be super helpful. Then the last tip that I've mentioned often is called the 5-minute rule. So basically you commit to working on a task for just 5 minutes, put a timer for 5 minutes. And after the 5 minutes, you can either decide to continue doing the task, or you could say, I've had enough. This is too much for me. And that's okay. Regardless, you literally did 5 minutes of a task. You are 5 minutes in. What often happens is you gain momentum and you end up wanting to finish the task. And if you want me to kind of put these time management tips in practice, like you want to see a vlog where I'm adding these types of tips, let me know, because I really think that I could do that. Sometimes it's hard to kind of figure out how that would apply in your life. So if you want to give me a scenario of your life and maybe I need to play it out in a vlog, I think that would be super cool. Whether you're struggling with ADHD or struggling with depression or struggling with anxiety, I can definitely try to tailor a routine that might be helpful for you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful and useful. Consider subscribing to the channel if you like more videos like this. Hit the thumbs up button. Comment down below if you want to try any of these tips, or if you've done time management through time blocking. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you in my next video.